สวัสดีครับ Greetings to everyone. Kasit Piromya once again. This time I will comment a bit about my disappointment with the performance of General Prayut Chan-o-cha, the Prime Minister of Thailand and his government, in the sense that he has been in power in the position of the Prime Minister of Thailand for the past 8 years. But his performances are much to be desired, as he has not been able to lift the plight of Thailand to become a more modern, open, developed society. For his socio-economic measures of the past 8 years, they have been more or less concentrated in two areas, namely the promotion of tourism, both inside Thailand, and second, for foreign tourism, tourists to come to Thailand. In most of his pronouncements and so on, he always mentioned about the need to promote touristic activities and so on. Nothing wrong with it, but it should not be the only major measure to overcome the economic difficulties of Thailand. There are so many other things to be done, okay, but none of that has come to the forefront. The other point is that besides the promotion of tourism, in spite of, I think, the uncertainty about the consequences and the inhibition of COVID-19, he has ventured into the promotion of consumerism, trying to promote the spending spree of the ordinary people by subsidizing their purchases of services or of the daily necessities of life, more or less by subsidizing half of the cost of the services and the purchases and so on. But when it comes to job creation, it has not been quite significant from his point of view and so on. And in spite of the fact that the government has a large budget, there is no clear-cut picture of how much of that budget has been allotted for job creation and economic activities. At the same time, there is no clear-cut a set of clear-cut policy measures to combat inflation, rising costs of living, and the uncertainty of life in general. What we hear most of the times are rhetorics, and the phrase that the Prime Minister often used, namely that, let me quote, "I have instructed, I have ordered, I have reprimanded, I have recommended to the agencies concerned to do this and that," and so on, without any specifications or specific measures of how to bring about that wishes or the targets and so on. So it has been for the past 8 years a lot of general statements, expression of the wishes to do this and that and so on, without enough of the research activities to support the intended targets, without much of the consultation with the stakeholders concerned of the Thai society. I would like to cite a few examples. The prime ministers always talk about 3 English letters, BCG, which means biotechnology, economy, circular economy, and green economy. This is as a follow-up more or less to the words that he used at the beginning of his premiership, the 4.2 industrialization of Thailand, or 4.0 economy of Thailand. But whether it's 4.0 BCG, the public has not been able to learn anything more of how to go about it, who are responsible, whether any of the feasibility studies have been put in place, who do the feasibility studies, what are the cost effectiveness, the return on investment, and so on, and what is the time frame. None of this has been forthcoming to the attention of the public at large and to their participation in the deliberations and so on. So today, Thailand still remains as a developing country, middle income country, but still very much trapped in the lack of technology and in the rising labor cost. So the stigma or the labeling of Thailand as a middle income, trapped in the middle income status, has not been modified for lack of vision, management know-how, and plans to overcome this very fundamental and basic difficulty of Thailand, or to lift Thailand out of this middle income trap status. While at the same time, I think the Prime Minister has been taking pride in himself about the promotion of tourism and the carrying out of many of the populist policy measures of handouts to the people, subsidizing purchases, traveling for pleasure and so on, and not at all or not much of the job creation or the furtherance of the Thai industrialization and the betterment of the services industries and so on. And it's 8 years already. And I don't see any possibility of General Prayut changing his way of doing things or changing his mindset. But for him to keep on clinging on to the position of the Prime Minister of Thailand without vision, without sensitivity to the plight of the people, without full knowledge of the difficulties Thailand is facing in the world. It's time for him to go and open the way for new generation to take over the mantle of the leadership of Thailand. General Prayut Ocha can also think that he needs to continue the work because he has many unfinished works, like an unfinished symphony. But nothing in life is finished in one's political terms or even in one's lifetime. It's a continuation of process of measures and so on that does need to be dependent on one particular person. And at the same time, General Prayut Chan-o-cha might visualize himself that he is the defender of the faith, that he alone could protect the well-being, the security of Thailand against, I think, the negative forces from his point of view, that might undermine the continuation of the privileged class and the establishment of the Thai political arena. And he may also perceive himself that he is the only one that could lead Thailand to ward off the encroachment and the expansion of influence forthcoming from the former Prime Minister of Thailand, Thaksin Shinawatra, without regarding or giving respect that the people in general, they know what is right and wrong, who are the politicians that they should respect, who are the politicians that they should disrespect. So leave that decision to ward off perceived dangers and so on to the people and not to himself, because 8 years of his premiership, General Prayut Chan-o-cha has not done anything for the Thai society in a substantive manner or anything that could be tangible, that people do feel it. We still have the inequality very much in the Thai society. We still have that concentration of wealth, concentration of political power in the hands of the few. There has been a lack of political participation in every level of life, in all of the activities of the society, and so on. So he is very much a sort of an semi-elected autocrat without vision, without understanding of the difficulties that Thailand is facing. And 8 years has already passed, and he still seems to not understand what's going on, how the international community has been perceiving Thailand, what are Thailand's dilemmas and predicaments and so on. And without knowing all the difficulties and so on, he has been in the position of not knowing on how to lift Thailand out of this middle income trap, out of this, I think, declining competitiveness and so on. So it is, for me, it is about time for him, for General Prayut Chan-o-cha to go, leave the scene and open the political arena for other actors to come and offer themselves to lead Thailand into a future of peace and prosperity. Thank you very much. ขอบคุณมากครับ